health department, which especially in an emergency situation like this has very real powers, can put out a variety of rules. Just as you said earlier, there was issues with smoking in the past. Any kind of public health issue can be addressed. Okay. And we're looking at all those options. But listen, it comes down to something very human. We want people to understand this is what saves their lives. This is what saves the lives of their loved ones. But we've tried incentives for months and months. We tried being, communicative and open and compassionate, and all that was good. But we need something also tough at this point. Incentives, yes, $100 per person, great deal. Mm-hmm. But we need mandates.
We need mandates, he says. There's New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio adding his voice to the panic over the Delta variant out there, making it very clear that vaccine mandates are on the table and perhaps imminent here in NYC. Not everyone's buying the latest COVID panic porn. Check out this eye-catching cover from today's New York Post. The image illustrates the scope of the risk the Delta variant poses to vaccinated Americans. Of the 161 million who've received the jab, just 5,601 have been hospitalized by COVID, just over 1,000 of them dying. That's a total of 0.0007 of the total vaccinated population. Sounds like things might be a little overblown here with the lockdown libs. Joining me now to talk about it, New York Post political reporter David Marcus. David, good to see you.
Good to see you, Buck.
Are they really going to do this in New York City? I mean, is Mayor Bill de Blasio going to say, well, the health department is now mandating vaccines for all residents of this city, perhaps to go into restaurants, or maybe just mandating it for everybody? I mean, how does this look likely to play out?
I don't know. I honestly don't, because I'm not even sure. I mean, restaurants are one thing, right? Like, you could force restaurants to do this and hope that people don't just create, copies or whatever if they want to go to the restaurant unvaccinated. But, enforcement's going to be a problem with this. But pardon me, the bigger problem here is this is the most confused I've been since all of this started in March of 2020 in terms of what metrics the CDC is tying the recommendations to, and really just in terms of what's going on. Like, now it seems like a lot of these changes and recommendations are based on what happened up in Provincetown, which is really murky, man. It seems like a whole bunch of vaccinated people contracted the virus, which, I mean, if you even said that was a possibility 2 weeks ago, you'd get yanked off social media. I mean, my head's spinning. I spent most of the day watching COVID panic porn on CNN, and then it would cut to an ad for the gigantic concert in Central Park in 3 weeks that CNN is broadcasting. It's insane. My head's spinning. I don't know what to tell you, man.
It does seem like there is at this point no more room for anybody to run with this is based on the numbers, because in DC we've had 2 people in the last 2 weeks, Washington DC, have died from COVID. 2 in 2 weeks in a city of 700,000. In New York, the numbers are pretty similar. It's an actual, like, a handful, less than a half dozen. I think it might even be 2 or 3 people in New York City have died of COVID the last couple of weeks. So we're losing maybe a person a week. And now that includes people who are severely, who have serious comorbidities, who are in their 80s. People pass away in their 80s all the time. That's just the life cycle that we as human beings have. And now they're going to put all these rules into effect because of one thing that happened in Cape Cod, where of the hundreds of people that they think were infected who were vaccinated, I think 5 of them ended up in the hospital. So even if, it just doesn't make any sense, David. I mean, I'm sitting here looking at it the way you are, and I don't understand what they think they're doing.
No, and there's no transparency. I mean, I believe the last COVID task force briefing was on Tuesday. These are massive changes that we're undergoing. Where's the press conference? Where's the briefing? Where's the 25 reporters in a room who can ask, Walensky and Fauci and all of these people anything they want? They're doing TV appearances, here and there, but there's no transparency at all. And that was what Biden promised he was going to bring us, right? Like, this was all going to be transparent. This was all going to be the science. Ask the scientists anything. They're missing in action. And we're not getting any kinds of answers really right now from the Biden administration.
It seems also like we're heading for blue states taking pretty extreme actions, but a lot of red states, I mean, Governor Ron DeSantis down in Florida, Governor Abbott in Texas, they're blocking some of these measures. So we may actually have a situation finally where there are going to be places in the country, you know, there have been some of this, but there was always, you know, cities would take these measures because they weren't being blocked from it, right? Like Miami had a mask mandate, even when there was no statewide mask mandate in Florida. Same thing with cities in Texas that are run by the libs, right? Austin and Houston. Now we may actually be at a place where the state government is blocking local government from doing it. So there'll be blue states in panic and red states living normally. Maybe this is what it takes for us to get to a place where we can see who's right and who's wrong with all this?
I mean, it might. You know, there's also, of course, all those states in between that aren't California or Texas or New York or Florida, many of which under the radar had pretty lax policies and did okay, right? I mean, this has always been a patchwork across the country. So yeah, I mean, I certainly hope that there are places that resist this. I still have hope that New York City might be one of them because it's not California here. I don't think people are ready for this again, but who knows, man? I mean, you know, de Blasio is on his way out. He could try to pull this. You know, I almost hope he does so that Cuomo will say no because they hate each other.
Do you think Governor Cuomo of New York would step in and say that de Blasio is a nutcase and we can't actually allow this to happen?
I think if Bill de Blasio said the sky was blue, Andrew Cuomo would claim it was green. Yes, I mean, I have some hope of that.